Hey everybody, we are live again here at DevHub. I am back with my co-host Owen. Thanks for being able to join us today. I know it's pretty late for you.
Great to be back. Well, it is late, but I had to make it just to see you, Joe.
I appreciate that. Awesome. We got a really exciting workshop today, and I'm really excited because if you guys saw the AMA yesterday with Masa, that I think this is something that everyone should get involved in. It's great for the hackathon. It's easy to add into your project. But today we're going to dive into the technical pieces of Masa and actually how to start building right away. So I don't want to waste any time. I want to make sure everyone can maximize this. Let's bring Brendan up. Hey, Brendan, how are you?
I'm doing great,
Hey,
guys. How you
Brendan.
doing? Yeah, good to see you.
Good.
Oh, God.
Good morning.
Super excited for this. So we got an awesome chance to talk yesterday, and a lot of great things kind of came from that conversation about building agents and how to kind of dive into that. So I'd love for you to kind of just drive a little bit of this of where should we start and what exactly let's go one step higher. In case you missed yesterday, what exactly is Masa and what can we start building with today?
Yeah, it's a great question. So Masa is a decentralized AI data network, AI and machine learning. So what we enable anyone in the world to both contribute to the network, that is run our software, run our code. We're going to go through how you do that today to start contributing to the network. Typically that's scraping data. It could be scraping data from a source like Twitter. That's going to be something we're focused on today. We're going to build a RAG agent that allows you to ingest tweets from KOLs. We're going to do this in real time, show exactly how you can do it. And other sources like web. So if you kind of want to, for example, figure out what is the weather in San Francisco today and have that available to your agent, you can use our web scraper to do that. We also have Discord scrapers, Telegram scrapers, and speech to text. So you have all of this kind of suite of data aggregation software that is contributed either in an indexed format. So these are workers that are contributing data, or developers can make real-time requests. And I'll show you how you do that through our Node API today as well. And what this does, it gives anyone anywhere in the world access to data, which historically has been very difficult to get hold of. It's been challenging for developers who want to really focus on building products to do both things. Like building data pipelines plus product is hard.
Yeah, no, I one of the things that we highlighted yesterday in our conversation was just the ability to actually get this data in a normalized fashion, to be able to get it at a way that is avoiding having to go through all these different separate APIs and everything else like that. And so you guys are really providing an opportunity for, again, we tried to highlight for the hackathon, especially like an easy way to add on something to that you're already building. And agents and things like that are an easy way to kind of get into it. Owen, do you have any questions before kind of we jump into some of this stuff? Because you weren't part of yesterday.
Well, yeah, I obviously wasn't here yesterday, so I'm going to have a few questions, I think. I'm just interested to see what it looks like. And I'm glad I'm here today rather than yesterday, because I always love to dive into the more practical aspects of things. So I think maybe we could just get started, and I can learn and ask some questions along the way.
Perfect.
Great. Awesome. And I might even start today with a whiteboard, just come out a very high level, walk through all of the components, go through what the goal is going to be today in terms of what we're going to be building. And then we can actually break it down and go through the code to sort of actually see how you go through step by step and get this up and running.
Perfect.
Sounds awesome.
Areas where you might trip up. So bear 1 second. I'm going to put everything up onto one screen and then move things into this screen as we go through this process. So bear with me while I just get this up.
I think one of the most one of the things I'm most interested about hearing is like how you're actually getting like the data on chain and sort of bridging that gap between like Twitter data and the chain. So that's really interesting to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to make this actually available to comment to anyone. And I'm going to drop this in the chat with Jared, so as Jared can share that with everyone. Right, so people should be able to get into this whiteboard either during the session or after it and see exactly what we're kind of going through here, which would be really helpful. So I'm going to start at a very, very high level. What are the components of Masa first? Going to keep this really short. Feel free to kind of stop me and pause me at any point during the process, and we can kind of get into specific components. Once we've gone through these components, we're going to sort of look at what is the key building blocks for a RAG chain based agent, and how we can kind of put that together in literally, we'll do it in like 10 minutes on this actual session. See how easy it is, show you the key components, kind of break it down, and give you all an opportunity to get some inspiration for what you're building. Also, so on the left here, we have data sources. This is a range and flavor of data sources that typically encompass things like X. I'm going to start using X/Twitter. I'm still very millennial with my use of Twitter. We have web scraper, and then Discord, Telegram, and we have speech to text. We won't really be touching on speech to text today, but it is available. If anyone would like to use speech to text, please just drop us a note. This is things like podcasts. So if you want to take an entire corpus of podcasts, break them up, diarize them, for example, this particular session, you can use one of our pipelines to do that. So we have these data sources. As a worker on the Masa protocol, you configure a node to run one or more of these scrapers. You also need to stake the node as part of your process of getting up and running. And the node itself has an API that allows you to interact with a range of different endpoints, and we'll review those shortly. This node can run in isolation mode. So today we're going to run it as a single node, a little bit like if you think of a clique cluster in early Ethereum, you can kind of have your own private network, or you can connect to the bigger Masa testnet, and I'll show you how you can do that today. But for the sake of simplicity, we're going to have a single node running in isolation. We still need to stake that node to get it to function, and that will unlock us using a range of these different scrapers. So as a developer, you can choose to have your own private network that's got dedicated resources for yourself, or you can join the main protocol and you can access an entire host of scrapers and workers out there without having to configure one of the scrapers yourself. So it operates in two modes. You either are a worker or you're a developer node, which is like the equivalent of an Ethereum like archive node, where you're reading from the network, but you're not providing an impact to the network. So we'll just pause there for a second, see if there's any questions.
So what I'd be interested in hearing, so you say you can like operate a node by itself or join this network. So is it always just one node that is like polling the API? Or if you join the network, will it be like multiple polling the same API to sort of make it verifiable, I suppose, so a node doesn't lie?
Great question. So on the testnet, we have, let's call this just 500 worker nodes. And let's just assume that all of these worker nodes are Twitter worker nodes. I'm going to bring in my like equivalent of what is an RPC node. So this is a node that has zero configuration. It's just staked. So this node can't do work, it can't scrape, and it's going to be sending requests directly to the network. out to these 500 nodes, and it will select in a selection mechanism which node is going to return data. These workers are run using a consensus model that ensures that data that is returned to your 0 configuration node is valid and true. And each of these, for example, let's assume all of these are Twitter nodes like we have here, can return a response to your client node here. So we have validators on the network that ensure that all workers are honest, and that the data you're getting returned is in fact good quality data and represents your request. And we'll show you exactly how that works in just a moment.
Nice. I'm very glad to get that cleared up, because my main concern coming into this, you could just like lie about data, but well, this is obviously solving that. So that's great.
I mentioned to Joe yesterday, we have something really cool coming to the network in the next month or so. I'm just going to change this color here. We have an Intel SGX containerized wrapper for every worker node that's running on this network. And what that does, it enforces that the code that's running in this container and joining the network is a verifiable code configuration that includes certificates for example, validating that you're connecting to the Twitter API and you're not connecting to a mock API that's being routed through like a proxy, for example. So you could mock an API, route through a proxy that has the Twitter URL as like a spoofed URL, and return data from a mock that could be incorrect. This actively prevents this. We're rolling this out both onto our kind of BitTensor subnet, the protocol, and then open sourcing it, so as other projects and protocols can do the same validation. For example, if you've got a compute protocol and you want to verify and ensure that all of the capacity that nodes on that network are delivering is true, you can use this containerized application to verify that it's a GPU that has a certain clock speed, a certain amount of memory, and is at a certain spec. And you can ensure that's enforced through this like hash verification and remote attestation that a validator does on your code base. Think of it like HashiCorp Vault, but for runtime.
Interesting. I'm curious as to why you're not calling this like an oracle as such.
We used to. We used to call it that. We've sort of slipped away from that. It's still naming convention in a lot of our code base. You'll see that. But yeah, it was what we started with from a naming convention perspective. But we've moved to just like node at this point, or worker, or node. That's kind of the vernacular we've adopted.
Fair enough. Yeah, I was wondering if it was just more like naming convention or whether there was like distinct differences.
Yeah, no, I think that when we started, we thought that we were kind of positioning a bit like Chainlink for real world data, hence Oracle kind of made sense. And we've just slowly shifted away from that, from like it in the Web3 space, there's a very definite perception of what Oracle is for pricing data. And it gets people in a certain mindset of what you're doing, and we've tried to kind of break ourselves out of that a little bit.
Yeah. Nice.
Cool.
Okay, that's all my questions at this stage.
Great question, Owen. I appreciate it. And then on top of the API, you can use our SDK. We'll be using the SDK today, and that gives you a lot of flexibility on the way in which you can actually scrape data, makes your life easy. In addition to that, we have in the Near AI Hub, we're going to have, and this will be probably live tomorrow, we have a huge, I think it's several million tweet data set that encompasses a whole range of keywords around cryptocurrency prices, token prices that anyone can use. So you have two options to get up and running here. You can run your own node, you can customize what you're scraping, and you can create your own data set. If you don't want to do that as an initial step, you just want to go straight to building, you can take one of our example data sets. There's a bunch on Hugging Face, And we're now migrating all of those to the Near AI Hub. So there's data sets on the Near AI Hub that you can use, and expect to see those posted in the next 24 hours to 48 hours for you guys. Okay. So this is basically the architecture and the layout of the protocol at a high level. Now, if you want to be building an AI agent, you're going to start off by getting your data. Like I said, there's two ways that you can get your data. There is from the Near Hub or Hugging Face. We have a whole host of data sets up here under the Masa Foundation Hugging Face. You can see we've got YouTube collection, Twitter, and then there's 517 other data sets under here. But likewise, you'll also be able to access these from the Near AI Hub. And in addition to this, you can start scraping your own data set. Scrape your own. We have example repos in GitHub that will allow you to plug in these data sets and get up and running really quickly to create a very simple RAG chain agent. And in this example today, we're going to be using, as part of our tooling, we'll be using LangChain. We're going to be using an OpenAI embeddings endpoint, but again, we're going to migrate that over to a Near AI Hub embeddings endpoint using the LLM infrastructure over there. So very soon you'll actually see this example code base transition. And we're working with the Near team and Gabe at the moment to get that transitioned over. And most of the LLM work is going to be done locally. We're going to be using a Llama 3.1 to run a local version. You can see it running up here of Llama 3.1, 8 billion model. And then we're just going to use a very simple Streamlit interface, which will allow us to give ourselves a flexible UI. You'll see a few like formatting issues on there. We do like also to use this as a front end. There is this open source web UI framework, which gives you a ChatGPT-like experience. I think this has got something like 50,000 stars, 41,000 stars. Extremely well maintained. Make your life easy. Use something like this that's open source or something simple like Streamlit, so as you can simply, quickly, and easily put a front end onto your agent. Like, make your life simple. Focus on the RAG chain. Focus on the logic. I will drop this into the chat as well. These are some great tools for you all to be using. And from here, we'll be able to prompt. So we'll walk you through all of these steps. We're going to get the data. We're actually going to scrape some ourselves. We're going to take a look at the example repo that outlines this simple RAG chain. We're going to run it using a Llama 3.1 locally. You can also use any of the LLMs made available through the Near Hub router. And then we're just going to simply use a very, very vanilla Streamlit front end to be able to prompt the agent and get a response. And you'll see in this, what I would call lowest common denominator example, like anyone can build this, how quickly you can get up and running with data and start building and finessing an agent. So I'll pause here, see if there's any questions. Otherwise, I'll kind of dive into it.
I don't have any questions. Yeah, I mean, right now, the way you have this set up, and again, I feel like it's structured in a way that, again, it goes back to my whole product doesn't have to just be around this. Like, there are spots where this can drop into my product, and so, or this can be standalone. So it feels like there is a lot of flexibility for someone to come in based off this flow.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like your key components outside of Masa is your RAG chain with your LLM. So these two components here. This is what I would say is like when you're building an agent, your lowest common denominator set, and then you've got your UI and you're kind of prompting here. And we'll see how changing prompts kind of changes the interaction with the agent as well. So yeah, absolutely. If you've got this kind of common set of tooling, you can bring in any data. For example, if we have a step in our RAG chain where we want to get the weather today, you could use Llama to construct a query that can then be used against the web scraper endpoint, for example, to go out and get weather.com weather, or for example, if you want the current price for Dogecoin today, you can do that. And I'll actually show you how we can do that today as well. Awesome. So our first step is in scraping our own data. If we're not using the NearHub or Hugging Face data, we want to scrape our own. So the place that we start here is with Masa GitHub. So you're going to come to our GitHub. You're going to take a look at the Masa Oracle, because we still have the old naming convention, like I mentioned earlier, from 18 months ago. Clone the repo, and I'm going to show you how we really quickly get this up and running locally. So let me just make some space on the screen here. Minimize this. We're going to be using I like using Warp as my. Okay, cool. So I'm going to go into my Masa Oracle folder. You should use the latest tagged release when you're running the actual protocol itself. So always make sure that you're running the latest tag release. We actually have a new release coming out today. We have a 0.82 release, which gives the functionality I'm demoing today. So in a few hours, we'll release that, and make sure you use that latest tag release. It'll give you all the latest fixes and all the latest features. So I'm gonna clean up my latest build, and I am first of all going to configure my environment file. So I'm going to pull up this, which is my cloned repo. And again, if you go to the Masa developer documentation, which is on our website, most of these guys will be there. And we will also do like a how-to video, so as you can easily kind of check this out. Make sure you configure your environment file here. I'm just going to delete this information. And in the environment file, you have some default configuration, which is your information here. And then we're configuring the scrapers that we're using as part of the protocol. And today we're going to use the Twitter scraper. So I'm setting this to true. I've set custom user agent, which helps our scraping. You can actually create a comma-separated list of user agents here. If you want to cycle through multiple ones, we would recommend doing that. And then you can go into like configuring Discord scraper, Telegram scraper, and I've also on here, I've got my web scraper as true, because I want to use my web scraper as well today in this demo. So you'll find the environment file in the developer documentation. There's a set of default environment files that you can use. I'm just going to move this off the screen so as I can put my credentials back in here for logging into Twitter. You need a pro account with Twitter and your username and password. You can add a string of usernames and passwords. So I've added in 2 accounts here. So it will cycle my requests between 2 accounts. You could have up to 20 accounts. And I'll show you exactly how requests get routed to those accounts. Each account can probably scrape around 1 million tweets per month, which is a Twitter-based limit. So now I've got my EMV defined. I am going to build the binary. This will take 30 seconds to do this. And while I'm building the binary, I am going to go out and install a couple of other packages that we have that I'm going to use for putting together this example. So I would like to get up and running with the Masa SDK. As I outlined on our previous example in our whiteboard, Let me just pull this up. Right here, we use an SDK to interact with the API and scrape data. And you can find that at our Masa repo here. We suggest you use like a Conda environment for running any of our Python code. And you can easily install this, so pip install Masa AI. And then we can create a request list of the data that we're scraping. And I'll show you in just a moment how we're going to do that. This saves all of the data locally and makes it available in a JSON file so as we can input this into an embedding model and then into a local vector store so as it can be retrieved by our agent. In addition to that, we're going to use the Masa awesome Masa repo, which has examples in it. So you want to clone the awesome Masa repo here. And within the awesome Masa repo, we have some scraper examples that don't use the SDK. This may be like a one-off scrape you want to do. Maybe you just want to kind of use one of our older scraping scripts, but we'd always recommend now using the SDK to do scraping. And then it has an example agent. We have a KOL agent and we have a meme coin agent. And within this agent file, there's a very simple setup here using LangChain and their local vector store with a RAG chain that is set up here with a prompt. We'll change this in a moment using a local Llama model. You can change this to point to a near model. And this is a very, very clean boilerplate example of using this agent package with Streamlit to get up and running with an agent. So in short, get the Masa SDK, get your node up and running, and you want to be using the awesome Masa repo. So we're now going to put this all together. I'm going to make run the node. When you run this the first time, it's because I have it running somewhere else. 1 second. Let me just kill a couple of processes here. I know exactly what's happening. This is running on another server. Bear with me 1 second. I need to kill this. Okay, bear with me 1 second.
It's always chaotic when you're trying to do it live.
I have my SDK docs running on the same port as what I do on my node, and I don't normally do that. So I'll come back and kill that in just a moment and show you how we can get that running. So bear with me 1 second. Let me just stop sharing this screen real quick. While I kill this, give me 30 seconds to kill this server. 1 sec.
Well, he's looking for that. Oh, and what are some things that stick out to you so far as you see this?
I think I've never really heard. I obviously heard about getting data onto chains with oracles and such, but I've not really heard of that being used like specifically for agents. So I think this is where it really becomes interesting, and I'm sort of curious, like how these agents are going to use the data and act certain ways based upon that.
Yep.
So I'm going to be interesting, and I wonder what sort of crazy products people are going to build based upon this. Maybe agents that are transacting and buying and selling meme coins based upon like what people are tweeting, right?
Right. Yeah, it's the real-time component is really interesting.
Okay, guys, I think I've done this now. Perfect. Yeah,
nice.
had it running in the background by accident. Let me just share my screen. And thanks for being patient there. I appreciate it.
Oh, no problem.
Okay. All right, so you should now see this again. Okay, so we've started our node. It is at this address. You can see that I have staked it. One of the steps you have to do before you run the node is stake it with test Masa. There's a guide in our dev docs to do this. And I'm just going to use Postman here to take a look at our dev docs. You can see a local version of Swagger that's running from the node. So as you can see, the endpoints that we make available through Swagger, there are more endpoints on the actual node itself, but we don't always expose them through the Swagger docs. We're going to be using Twitter specifically today. So this is a node that's configured locally in isolation. It has 2 sets of Twitter credentials. And we are going to demo how I'm going to get the profile for God here off of Twitter. That's because I'm doing the wrong thing. It should be localhost. And you can see that it just sent a request out to my node, and it's returned in real time the Twitter account for God. I could also do my account here, Twitter account. So this is helpful if you want to do, for example, a digital twin.
That's pretty quick.
Yeah, and you want to ingest my profile to kind of seed my profile to your digital twin. You could use my Twitter profile to do this really easily. Similarly, we can actually get tweets. So with this query, I'm getting any tweet with the hashtag meme coin. Let's zoom in a little bit here. From the 16th of September until the 17th of September. So I'm going to send this query out, and it's returning 25 of those tweets in real time directly from Twitter. So this is how you get up and running. Just showing you how to actually retrieve data. We're now going to dive into the awesome.
So was this? Sorry, were these tweets the account's own tweets or tweets from like its feed or?
Basically, it is, you can access any tweet that is available on Twitter. So you can construct a range of queries, and these queries are actually in my dev docs that was actually running in the background.
So I could query by like a hashtag or something.
Example. Yeah, give me an example. Like maybe we can do this hashtag here. Let's do, what's a good hashtag to do? Bitcoin right now, and we're going to do that from the 10:03 until 10:01. So the last like 3 days. And that's going to go to the network, and I have essentially these hashtags here. It's getting all of the tweets that have the hashtag Bitcoin in it. We could also do from, what's near AI's? Okay, near protocol is the username. I could also get all of the tweets from near protocol. So you can see here that this is, latest tweet. And I can actually verify this by taking the permanent URL. Let's save that. I did not mean to do that. Get tweets. Sorry, Postman can sometimes be a little bit fickle. And you can actually see that this is the tweet that is at the top of Near's Twitter feed. This is the first one. Cool. Does that help?
Yeah. Really interesting.
Amazing.
So I want to go one half step back here so people are just really clear on it. So if I want to run an agent, I have to run a node first, right? I can't piggyback on another node. I can't have, like, if I'm, is it like a one-to-one relationship kind of thing?
Yeah, it's a good question. You have 3 options. To have your own single node with your own logins. you could have your own private cluster of nodes where you bring other people to your kind of private network that contribute data. So you could ask or invite 10 people with their own logins to come and join your private cluster and create a single network for yourself. And then the third option is you can piggyback off of the aggregate users on the Masa protocol. And the way that you would do that is in the environment configuration, which is, let me just pull it up 1 second. In your environment configuration here, let me just remove my password information here. In this environment, you would configure a boot node here. And this boot node is 2 addresses here of the main network boot nodes. And when you connect to this, you could have is Twitter scraper set to false, and your request will go out to all other nodes on the main Twitter network. So if you want to use the main Twitter network,
Gotcha.
the main Masa network, you can do it that way. So they're the 3 ways that you can configure to get up and running.
Yeah, I got a couple community questions while we're on this topic of nodes here real quick. So first one up here is, can I redden my node on a Raspberry Pi?
That's a good question. If you've got a Unix or Linux environment on there, yeah, absolutely. Very, very low power device can run this. We typically run them on a 2 to 4 CPU and 8 gig machine. Very, very low power device can run this. Great question.
And then do I need to run a validator too, or can I just run the node?
You can just run the node. You don't. There's no requirement to run a validator. Absolutely.
Nice.
Great questions.
That's some pretty concise responses there.
Awesome.
He knows his stuff.
So let's just dive into the awesome Masa repo. So we're going to point this particular script, and you can. I'm just using this because it's in the same repo as my example code, and it makes it easy for me to do today. I would strongly recommend that you use the Masa SDK repo, which I've got up here. There's there's useful documentation that you can access for the SDK right here, and it includes all of the advanced Twitter search. So it gives you instructions on how you can actually define certain keywords in your search terms, so as you can really get specific with the data that you're searching for. And today we are going to use a KOL tweets from the last, let's call it week, to build this agent. So we're going to do from this account. And we want to be calling up to 150 tweets. And we're going to get tweets for the last, so we're starting off today, which is the 3rd of October. We're going to start on the 1st here. And all of these other configurations stay the same. And we're going to run this script. Yeah. I spelled Python wrong. And this will, okay, 1 second. I need to remove my state file. Do that again. Okay, great. And you can see on the left right here, we're scraping tweets. It's going to start saving those tweets up here into this JSON file. And it will keep cycling through these days. So we can see like it's fetched 58 tweets from today, 55 tweets from here, 73 tweets, and it will continue going until it's gone through the entire date range. So you can see we've scraped 186 tweets from the last 3 days. Now what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to load this into our RAG chain. And we're going to do that by configuring let's just make a little bit of this a bit more clean. We're going to use our KOL agent template. I am going to want to load data from the path, the file that I just saved. Everything else on here stays the same. And let's say I want to configure my prompt. So I'm going to go into my RAG chain setup. And here you're going to see the system prompt that I am putting in here. So you're an AI assistant specializing in analyzing and summarizing Twitter conversations about cryptocurrency based on KOL tweets. Let's just change that to tweets. From the author's Twitter replies. Let's just call this from the author's tweets. It's a bit more concise. Your task is to provide concise. So this is where you can like really define what your agent is going to do. It's currently October the 28th. Okay. It's October the 3rd. What am I doing? 2024. So make sure you're getting data that is relevant to that date, and then etc. so on and so forth. It inserts the question that comes in from the prompt, the tweet data, and the system prompt here as well. Now we're going to load up our data. Give me 1 second. I'm going to make this smaller to the KOL. Okay. I'm going to Streamlit. Oh, it's too wrong. My bad. 1 second. Okay, and this is going to spin up a local RAG agent. It's creating a local vector store. It's creating embeddings. So it's already creating our embeddings. And it's setting up our workflow graph. And our workflow graph is defined in here, which is retrieving, generating, and it also has web search functionality, which we're not using today. But essentially, it will allow me to ask, can you please summarize the tweets from my author? The author here is Satoshi Flipper. It's going to go out, fetch embeddings, and immediately use the context from our data that we scraped to generate response. And this response is going to be generated using our local version of Llama 3.1. And here we go. So it understands who the author is, what he's doing, what he's talking about, and gives you information about the tokens. What does he say about Masa token? Because he occasionally posts about a token. And you can continue to have a conversation here. So this just shows you how fast you can get up and running with Masa data, scraping a custom data set, and then getting into a RAG chain agent in no time at all. So I'm going to pause there.
It's like
Nice.
20 minutes there. Now, something like this, you need to, though, then programmatically continually scrape data, or how does that then fit into this?
Yeah, it's a really good question. We currently, there are 2 ways in which you can do this. We, as an organization, the foundation, constantly scrapes a keyword-based data set that encompasses some of the most requested keywords we get from users. You can find that list in our GitHub under our subnet, our BitTensor subnet, because it's our subnet that actually scrapes these keywords. So the keywords are in a list here. If you would like any of those keywords adding to the index, just please let us know or submit a pull request and we can update this. That's what I'd recommend. Or you can use the SDK to continually scrape a list of keywords. So you'll see here that you can create an array of search terms, and you can have a cron job that periodically, let's say every day, will scrape and refresh the tweets for you and put them into whatever store you're using.
Okay, that's what I was gonna. That was my next thing. So yeah, so I can just, whatever my data set might be, I can go in and I can just set it to check, even every hour if I needed to, or whatever that might be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Very cool.
Absolutely.
And so where is this model actually running in like reality? It's running on the node, is it?
The model is not. So we are purely focused on the aggregation and structuring of data, and building those like data pipelines. When it comes to model delivery, we see that as very nicely commoditized within, for example, the neardevhub, where you can access any model that is specific for your use case. I'm just using local Llama 3.1 just because it's easy right now, but you could similarly point your inference to the neardevhub and use one of the many models that are available through the LLM router.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, that answers my question for sure.
Great. Any other questions from the community or you guys?
Yeah, so I mean, I didn't necessarily question. I think it's more of just a comment, and so maybe it might help frame it better for people who are at the hackathon and just want to get in this anyways. So what you just showed here is not only how, so you can easily start scraping data, you get the node up and running. When you actually then start everything up, you actually are putting together a full web interface that someone can then interact with directly.
Correct.
Is that available to open as like an API within your app? So can I make calls to that directly, or do I need to now program something else separate? Like is that already built into that code set where I can just call that as an API?
What do you mean specifically?
So right, like there's a chat if I don't want to use the chat interface, if I want to actually just make the call separate to have that, because I want to display it someplace different, or I want to just do something different with that response and that data. Can I do
like
that?
Have a smart contract like do something based upon the model, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got two options. You can build your own wrapper around the node API, similar to what I was showing you here, and the web scraper is also available. So I could use this to scrape all of the current data from the memes page on CoinMarketCap, and you can see it's got like the current price for bonk, whiff, so on and so forth. So any of this data is available for direct access from the actual node API. So if you run that locally or in the cloud, similar to accessing an Ethereum RPC endpoint, all of that functionality is available to you. We will have very soon a serviced API, which kind of wraps our protocol, so you don't have to run a node. We're looking to ship that in the next week or so, and you would get an API key, and then you'd be able to just use the API directly as like a centralized service, similar to using Infura or Blockdaemon to interact with your typical kind of smart contract RPC interfaces.
And one more question I do have actually is, so we talked about like web scraping and getting data from Twitter. Say I wanted data from like a specific API that's provided and it's not displayed on like any web page or whatever. Are you able to ping any sort of arbitrary API with this system or not?
Great question. At the moment, we're focused on data sources and endpoints that we found the highest amount of product market fit with. So to answer, no, not any. We are looking at, over the next month or two, which isn't really in time for this hackathon, opening up like a platform. So as a developer, you could contribute a package to the protocol, which adds a plugin for another API, for example. Like I had a request bizarrely last week for an OnlyFans endpoint. They're gambling and simping in Web3 is like really great product market fit. And they're looking to pre-populate OnlyFans profiles on a particular app. So that's something we're exploring integrating. But similarly, we'd like to be able to have people contribute those scrapers as well to the protocol.
Very cool. Interesting. One of the questions came up in regards to that, though, is, and Do you actually need the Twitter basic plan for this?
Yeah, no, you do not. So you do not need an API plan. You are using our infrastructure that extends the API. If you're running locally like I was, you need just a normal user login with a pro account, which is going to cost you about $7 a month. It will give you the same limits that I think it's pro account on the API, which is $5K a month. So you're getting $5K a month value for $7.
Right. Very cool.
Yeah, right now. And it's for using our infrastructure is free at the moment.
Right. Cool.
The amount of questions we're getting here from the community seems like they're quite interested in this. So you might be getting a few submissions.
That's great. I'm excited. Excited to see what everyone can build. And this isn't just limited to building an agent. The amount of data that you can get from these sources also lends itself very much to machine learning. So if you're thinking about trading strategies or doing regression analysis from like a data science perspective, there's some really interesting modeling work that you can do to really understand like what price trends are doing, what particular sentiment is happening in the market. So from like a degen product perspective, you can imagine some of these data feeds going into, alongside your troll box, you can have data streams that are kind of feeding in the best content from KOLs. So you have a dashboard. There's just a never-ending way in which you can use and render this information that's outside of the kind of agent class as well.
And is there anything, you spoke about quite a few good like ideas there and what you can do. Is there anything you particularly want to see built? Like what would be like number one on the list of submissions?
That is a great question. I think the space is really missing real user-facing product that has a very clear value proposition. I think there's a ton of benefit from taking large amounts of noisy data, large amounts of noisy information, and making it very concise and easy to understand. So what do I mean by that? We are constantly bombarded in the Web3 space with noise. I think there is an incredible way that you can build an agent that takes a range of information from the space, filters it down, and makes it consumable and understandable in a way that anyone can get access to trustworthy information. So an agent that really delivers a lot of value to a specific segment of users is what I'd love to see. And for those users to become really sticky with that product and engage with the product. Lots of projects out there building agents, but would love to see an agent built that has 1,000 users or 100 users. That would be a massive win.
Awesome. Yeah, I put on the screen your actual bounty for this event, but again, I think it goes hopefully without saying that you don't have to just build for the hackathon. Definitely check this out. As you've shown here, it's like 20 minutes to get up and running and to start exploring. So if you're just hacking around on the weekend, it's worth checking out, and it's free.
Absolutely, and use some of the open source frameworks like Open Web UI, like really cheat your way through to success. And I would strongly recommend using AI to build AI. Like inside our organization, we use Cursor, which is an AI IDE. It will 10x your velocity and make this even easier to consume. So use tools like Cursor, cursor.ai, I think is now their domain, and use the AI to build AI. It's like what we should all be doing.
Yeah, for sure. I will second that.
I think that's a great tip.
Yeah. It's been fun.
Awesome. This was awesome, Brendan. I really can't thank you enough for taking the time and walking through this.
Thank you, guys.
And
this
any
is
last questions?
No, answered all the questions. I think one thing I did want to say is like we've come to the end of the hour now, but For me, it's felt like it's been like 20, 30 minutes because it's been so exciting, like learning about all of this. Well, this is my first teach, Joe and Owen. I've actually made it this time. So it's great to see what bounties are available, and it's really fun to actually dive in and see what we can build in a such like short space of time that can be fit within an hour. But well, in this case, it was more like 20 minutes that we were actually building for.
Yeah, yeah. And you can really see how you can get into testing your product with users so quickly. You can get feedback really quickly from your users and then turn that into like tight iteration cycles, like almost daily. So in this month, you can go through so many iterations really quickly and really establish a product that like works for your users and you learn really fast. And I very much encourage people to not sit on their hands, ship something as fast as possible, get people using it, learn what those users want, and like it'll be a lot of fun. There's been a lot of information today. If there's any questions, please join our Discord community. We have a very active developer community in there. If you've got any questions, having any pain points getting up and running, please come in there and ask on our Masa Discord.
Do you have a link for that, by the way?
Yeah, give me 1 second. Let me just get that. And if you want to submit a pull request for any suggestions, if you've got any questions, please submit an issue to one of the GitHub repos, and that's a really easy way for us to like respond. We live in GitHub. Let me get an invite link here. Sorry guys, this is taking me longer than it should to get a Discord invite link.
No problem.
Second. I feel like this should be right on our website. There we go. It is.
There you go.
Nice.
1 sec, and there is the link. I just shared it.
Awesome.
Great, guys, and thanks for the opportunity. You know, it's really great and really nice to be able to dive in and talk about this in detail.
Yeah, no, I mean, this was exciting, and as you guys continue to add more stuff and continue to add new features, and then I would love to have you back on sometime and keep showing what you guys are doing.
Yeah, we haven't even touched like Discord scrapers. If you've got a Discord community, you can add a bot, bring your bot token, and then you can start getting conversational data. Like this is a great example. I'll finish on this. Like we use our own Discord data feed to understand product feedback from our users. So we have a Discord bot that pulls data through the protocol into an LLM, and then we use the LLM and data feed to understand what features of the product, what pain points are people seeing, like what bugs they're having, like what is the sentiment of our community, and digest what is a huge amount of information coming out of Discord and make it very, very concise. I think that's like, again, stress the point. How do you take really vast amounts of information and make it very easy for people to consume? That's just a massive value proposition here.
It's nice to see when companies are actually using their own product for themselves. You know, that's when it's good. Yeah. I think what you touched on with like the Discord bot, I think maybe even the AI governance could come into play there, where the like funds are distributed for a DAO for specific things based upon how the community is like interacting.
Thinking exactly. Yeah, I love that.
Limitless things.
Wow, making governance autonomous. That's funny. There's probably some interesting civil effects that you've got to think about within that kind of. That's fun.
Sure.
Yeah.
Create an anti-civil LLM. That would be an interesting thing to build.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, great. I mean, again, Brendan, thank you so much for your time today. This was great, and we encourage everybody to go check it out. Take 20 minutes and get up and running.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Any questions, let us know. Happy to support, and thanks for joining us today.
Perfect.
Thanks again.
Take care.
See you.
Awesome training. I'm glad you got to join this one, Owen. This was great. You know, I want to encourage people to check out the hackathon. Again, it's fully online. You do not have to be in person. You can check it out. It's all the way till October 25th. There's plenty of time to still jump in. Sign up for our newsletter here at DevHub. You'll have all the updates of what's happening when Masa drops something new in the ecosystem that people can start building on, it will be in our newsletter. So make sure you're keeping up with that as well. Anything you want to sign off with here? I mean, I know you're out there at the Hacker House. How's that looking?
Yeah, there's a good vibe out here in Chiang Mai. A lot of people just wanting to build, and it's quite nice, like chill vibe. Um, I mean, we're in the early days here, but I'm interested to see like this sort of community get together and build in person over like a longer duration. Because I think that's when you really get the ideas flowing, and it's
For
like
sure.
we're living in an online world, right? It's more difficult for me to ideate with someone, but we well today this evening we've just been sitting down and spitballing really, and it's great to get feedback on like what you've been thinking about
Yeah.
since the last in-person event.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, good vibe here.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, we
Sure.
definitely look forward to more updates. We will have more workshops next week, more AMAs, keeping all the way through till the end of October here. If you have any questions or anything, you can always join the Near DevHub, the Near Developer Telegram channels. We have DevRels like Owen there to help support. And anything else that might come up, please reach out to us. But until next week, this is DevHub Live. I'm Joe. This is Owen, and we will see you then. Okay.
Farewell.